All right. Hello, everyone. So sorry we're a bit late tonight. I had a walk with the wife outside. We usually do that after a long working day, and this week has been a very long week. Um, so many stuff to take care of in the operation side. So many stuffs to take care of with the client side, and all of that plus being CEO. Oh man, sometimes could be a lot. Could be a lot. Um, yeah, this week we have the podcast, new podcast episodes. We have August 17, 18, 19. That's with Jason Ho, and that's practicing self awareness in leadership. You could get to know some of the things that I mentioned there are some of my weaknesses as a leader. And Jason was actually very generous in how he pointed out how I could overcome some of the weaknesses that I am dealing with. So I asked him a couple of very vulnerable, very heartfelt questions that you could tune into. And if you guys are also experiencing some things that maybe you have a similar weakness as I do as a leader, that's going to be a really good episode for you. We have what you need to know about starting a business. That's with Apple, my wife, and that's the reason why I'm late tonight because I had a short, no, not really short, an hour-long walk with her in the subdivision after work. We have how to help your team recognize their strengths. This is very, very important if you have a team right now and they're working together, but they don't seem to be working on their strengths. They don't seem to be that passionate, that driven with their work. Their initiative seems to be lacking. You might want to tune into this episode. These are all 17, 11, 13-minute episodes, so it's very easy for you to listen to while you're driving, while you're taking a bath, while you're exercising. In fact, you could binge listen to some of the episodes that we have here. We have 247 episodes already. Could you believe it? That's a lot of episodes. I personally couldn't believe that we were able to produce that much episodes since we started July 2019. That's pre-pandemic, and we're still publishing 3 times a week. The leadership stack team has been doing phenomenally well. Really, really good team that is producing this show, and I hope that you also appreciate it as much as I do. All right. So we have a couple of questions. Let me just go ahead and pull that up. By the way, how are you guys doing? For those of you watching here, there's a couple of people, quite a number of people tuned in. How are you guys doing? Let me know how's your week been. It's been a very tough, long week for me, dealing with improving the operations, getting new clients in, putting out fires in the business, and also handling a couple of people who are very sensitive, dramatic. In the company, it's tough to be CEO. It's tough to be leader. Always thinking about them, always thinking about how this will affect that, how this will affect who. Um, and I want to hear from you guys. Ann Lopez says, watching from LinkedIn. Hey, Ann, how are you? And AKA Mitch. Yeah, yeah, that's Mitch right there. So your name in LinkedIn is Ann Lopez. How are you? Good to see you here. And we have Kenneth Mendoza says, hi. Hey, Kenneth. How are you? Hope you're having a much better week than I am. And yeah. All right. First question. As a boss, is it possible to be friends with your team? For sure. I mean, I know a lot of bosses who are friends with their team. I know a lot of people in my team are friends with me. We share a lot of stuff in our lives, and doesn't have to be about work all the time. I think that it's actually better if you have a personal relationship with people in your team. You're friends with a lot of them. That helps your effectivity in leading. What's the most efficient way for team members to address a leader's blind spots? Simply tell the leader. I mean, the best people in your team, so if you're a leader, you have to hear this out. The best people in your team are people who could actually tell you what's wrong about you to your face. Those are the best people in your team because you're going to want to hear these things as early as possible. And I've heard it a lot of times. I've listened to it a lot of times, and I have done and paid for coaching, counseling, uh, and a lot of things that would help me to be able to turn my weakness into a non-weakness. When you say blind spots, these are your weaknesses, and everyone has a weakness. Don't think that because you're a leader, you're the only one who has a weakness. Everyone has a weakness. The people who are telling you that you have a weakness, they have weaknesses. And you know their weakness and they know your weakness, but a lot of times you don't know your own weakness because you're blinded to it. So the most efficient way for team members to address that, tell it to your leader straight. Hey, this is your blind spot. This is your weakness. You might not be noticing this, but this is something you're struggling with. And if the leader listens to that and does something about it, fantastic. You have a phenomenal leader. And there's some leaders also who will hear that and say, not really interested in improving that weakness of mine, turning it into a non weakness. And you can't do anything about it. You're pretty much stuck with that leader or that boss or that manager because work is being under authority. That's really what it is. Before we hire anyone in SEO Hacker, we make it crystal clear that if you join our team, you're a person who is willing to work under authority. If you're not willing to work under authority, you shouldn't be part of our team. And guess what? All other companies will tell you the same. If you can't work under authority, go start your own business. Don't work for a company because you can't work under authority. As a leader, how can you address a team's blind spots? Tell them straight, right? I'm a straight shooter. I believe in telling people things. Just keep it straight, keep it simple, keep it concise. But make sure you also don't use fuzzy words. Don't Make sure you don't beat around the bush, and also make sure don't cuss. Don't use foul words that will muddy the waters of acceptance for from your words. Don't do that. So, as a leader, I make sure that I don't use foul words or bad words whenever I deliver these things to a team member. I rarely do this because I find a lot of team members blind spots. They will self police. Some other people will tell some other people. But in the case that the people in my team are not telling each other their blind spots, I will go ahead and tell them. Unless the only time I really avoid telling someone about their blind spots is if they're sensitive, right? With sensitive people, you cannot really go ahead and tell them, hey, here's what's wrong about you, because they're sensitive. They're probably going to say that's not true, and they won't believe you, and they won't do anything about it anyway. And maybe 3 years from now or from then, they will realize it on their own, but by then maybe it's too late. But you tried. At least you tried. But that's the person that's most difficult to communicate a blind spot to: sensitive people. I think that people like that are immature, unprofessional. They have a lot of time that they need to grow pa, no? So that's my opinion about that. How can you help a team member recognize their strengths? Strengths Finder 2.0. I'm not a certified coach or endorser, but that is one thing that we use in SEO Hacker, and I find it's very, very effective. I love it. We've been using it for a long time. My wife is a certified Strengths Finder 2.0 coach. If you want to schedule a one-on-one coaching with her, that is something that you can actually do. And she's phenomenal. She's fantastic about it. Otherwise, you're going to want to see the strengths of the team member by how they treat other people, by how they communicate with other people in the team, by how they work, by their work output. Are they good with deadlines? Are they better off with delegating? Are they better off talking about people? Are they better off thinking about ideas, strategizing, thinking about the future, or being a rally member? They rally the team around them, rara, and finally you have a lot of sales coming in. People have different strengths, people have different weaknesses, and you build a team based on diversified strengths and weaknesses. If you can't build a team with just one strength, just one weakness, and that's it, it's going to make for a very dull, very weak team. How can you help a team member recognize their weaknesses and help them find a strategy for it? For recognizing a weakness, so long as the weakness is not immaturity, is not being sensitive or sensitivity, I think that having a strategy to help a person turn a weakness into a non-weakness is actually not difficult, because number one, if the person cannot turn it can the person really can't turn it into a non-weakness or a strength, because he or she can't see it, because it's a blind spot, it's a weakness. Usually weaknesses are blind spots and blind spots are weaknesses. But if another person points that out and is willing to help them through it, I think it is something that people could really grow and finally be able to address. So if you as the leader are willing to help that person turn that weakness into a non-weakness by providing a strategy is basically, here's point A, there's point B, what are the steps to take from here to here, and then how long will it take you from here to here. That's a strategy, that is a working strategy, and that is what your personnel, your team member would need from you. If you're going to help them turn that weakness into a non-weakness, have that strategy in place. How do you communicate to a team member when their work is not meeting the company standards? First is you have to warn them about it. Tell them, hey, this is what you were producing before, or this is what we require. It's clear cut. These are the things that we expect from you, and it's not happening. Why is that? What are the things that you're struggling with? How can I help you with them? So for me, whenever you ask how come they're not meeting the standards, also ask them why, and try to want to help them, because that is one thing that I always do as a leader. I ask people, why are these things not being done? And then I figure out a way that I can help them. So for example, oh, you can't do quality, you can't publish quality blog articles because of the quantity. Okay, no problem, let's reduce that by 50%, for example. I give these things in order to help the person, so that finally they can be able to produce in such a level that we require as a company. So always ask why. Don't just give them a warning or send them a memo saying that your work is subpar or is not meeting the company standards. What methods do you give your team for them to air out any ideas or suggestions they have to improve? What methods do you give your team for them to air out ideas or suggestions they have to improve the company? Okay, we have what we call the fast feedback loop, and we use a platform called Teamster. It's a platform that me and my team developed in house, and we ask them questions every 15th and 30th, basically every payday. And the questions it's basically an NPS question that I adjusted. I added one more, two more questions there. And we ask how we're doing as management on a scale of 1 to 10. What are the things you want to see improving? So we get this feedback twice a month from supposedly everyone in our team. Now, there are some people who sometimes won't be able to answer the FFL or would say the same things because things are great, there's nothing that you need to change. And then there will be some people who, no matter what you do, will always be complaining. And you can't really do anything about that because of their perspective in life. But at least you know who your complainers are, who your hard workers are, who the pretenders are, and who the real leaders are, because of that feedback. That's why this kind of feedback is super duper important, not just for SEO hacker, but I think for any company out there. You always have to get feedback from your team, because that's how you also weed out the real ones from the fake ones in your company. And you will always have these people. Never in the history of SEO hacker did I have 100% perfect team. There are always people who will make a ruckus, and these people, it's always never going to be enough for them. They're always going to want more. They want not just your hand but your entire arm. I could go on and on, but a lot of business owners who have uh, went through the growth phase would say the same, would probably be able to relate with me with this. No, so basically just have controls and make sure that you are able to identify these people early on so that you can separate them from the rest of your flock. As a leader of a big team, how can I keep an eye on everyone's growth? You can't. You can't keep an eye on everyone's growth. You have to have other leaders who will lead them also. In the Old Testament, we have Moses who led the Exodus. If you've ever watched The Prince of Egypt, it's the Moses was one of the greatest leaders. Imagine leading a multitude of Israelites. I think there's like 600,000 of them that he led out of Egypt, and that's a lot of people. And he had to lead them in the wilderness. He had to judge between them. He had to decide some things, big or small, whether it's a big deal, a small deal, arguments, disagreements, conflict. They all had to bring it up to Moses. And at one point, his father in law comes by and says, "You're doing all of these things. It's going to drain you. It's really impractical, not just for you, Moses, but for everyone who's waiting in line so that they can get a turn to ask you what's going to be the decision." So, what Moses did is he looked for leaders within the community, the congregation, and they prayed for them, and they decided on the smaller things, the smaller conflicts. And then there's leaders above them who would decide on bigger conflicts, and there's leaders above them who would decide on bigger conflicts. And only the major arguments, conflicts, settlements, and questions would now be brought to Moses. That should be how you are as a leader, even with their growth. The growth, if you're a 12-year-old uh, 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 grade school student, and you're gonna go ahead and apprentice from the CEO of an international company, you will find that a lot of the questions of the 12-year-old kid could be answered by a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. And it doesn't have to be the CEO of the multinational company. And yet, a lot of people think that, I should be mentored by the biggest and brightest name here or out there. That shouldn't be the case. Just be mentored by someone who's ahead of you a mile or 2 miles or 3 miles, and that's it. Because most of your questions could be answered by these kinds of people. And it's these kinds of people who will also bring you up so that you can have connections with all of the big names up there someday, if and when you're a person who is of good character. You may utang na loob. I always tell people in my company, utang na loob or gratitude is a very big deal for me. When I have that with someone else, when I have a debt, an emotional debt that I have to pay, or that I have with someone, I pay that with for life. I pay that for life. I'm always indebted to that person for life. Ganun akong klaseng tao magkautang na loob. And I like people who are like me, who are like that also. Who I give an opportunity, I teach things, and they're grateful for it. The last people I like, honestly, are people na walang utang na loob. You teach them everything. They get their career from you. Basically, they learn everything from you, and wala, they're not grateful for it. They create rocoses, they complain in your company. That's the biggest, that's the worst thing that is something that I really don't like with a person or with a team member. No. And I'm sure a lot of the leaders here could resonate. What type of leaders should you surround yourself with? I would say leaders who supplement your weaknesses. So I'm not my one of my weaknesses is building relationships. I'm a task-oriented person. I'm very hard charging. I'm like a bull in a china shop. Very hard charging. I tell things straight, very authentic, but my authenticity can be sharp sometimes to some people. It pricks them and they don't like it. So the leaders that I have, one of them being my wife, are leaders that are good with people because they have to be, because I that's my weakness. They're good with making people feel good, feel better about things. There's a way for them to allow people to still produce while feeling good with their words. So these are people that I find are magical because I can't do what they're doing. And then the times that they're challenged with is when their teams aren't actually producing at the level that they need to, and that's where I'm really good at. I stand out in times of crisis, such as when the pandemic hit. I'm the leader who will really tell everyone what to do. I like crisis. That's when I stand out. That's really my leadership style. So I'm used to crisis, used to urgency as well. And yeah, so surround yourself with people, with leaders who supplement your weaknesses or who cover up your weaknesses, who have strengths where you're weak at. From George, how do you approach a coworker being too tardy with work deadlines? Warn them once and then serve them with a memo of gross habitual negligence, which is fireable in our labor laws. That's how I would probably do it, because deadlines are called deadlines for a reason. If you cross that line and you haven't brought the work, you're dead, right? So that's why we call them deadlines. And I think that people who have good respect for their work should meet deadlines. That's one of our core values in SEO Hacker, respect for work. That's why deadlines must be respected in my team. From Chucks, as a parent, how do you make sure that the next generation is also successful? The secret to that is teach them God's ways, teach them God's laws early on. For me, with my two boys, I ask them to read the Bible every day, as I have, and they don't read the Bible na, the adult NLT Bible or NIV Bible. They read the kiddie Bible, the Bible that has a lot of cartoons and graphics in it. That's what they read, and the words are kind of summarized. Of course, they're kids, so that's the kind of Bible that they're gonna appreciate, and that's about kind of Bible that they're gonna understand. And I train them by always, when kids have a lot of questions, right? They have a lot of questions. They never run out of questions. They're gonna ask you about everything. And every time they ask me, I have an answer with the perspective of a Christian, with the perspective of looking at things from the Bible's point of view. So, for example, if Leo asks, Papa, if someone wants to harm me, will you protect me? And I answer him, Of course, I will protect you with my life. I will fight for you because that's what God did for us. And then I proceed to tell him about the cross. And for me, the success of my descendants, of my kids, would be how well they know God, how well they walk with God, because that's also my success. I didn't I didn't want to become a businessman. I didn't really dream of being a successful businessman when I was younger. That's not part of my dream. In fact, a lot of people who knew me back then, when I was a little kid, would say that I wanted to be a pastor. And then people who knew me when I was in my teenage years would say I was a computer games addict and I wanted to be a pro gamer. So I really didn't know what I wanted to be. But a successful businessman was clearly not one of them. So what I did was just walk with the Lord, even in my darkest days, that I was not doing what was right according to the Bible. I would still read the Bible every day. I would still pray every day. My heart was not near to God, but I was still trying to walk with God during those times. I'm sure we all have had our darkest days and our dark days, our dark times. And with me, I was still reading God's word. I was still praying every day. And my business was a series of divine appointments. I didn't intend for SEO Hacker to be born, for it to be as the success that it is now. I didn't intend for it to be like this. But God showed me the way one step at a time, and I sincerely and merely followed him as he was showing me, this is what you do, this is who you talk with, this is the company that you have to be with at this time. Open up the conversation with this person. Make sure you increase your price here. Make sure you lower your price for that company. Make sure you take care of this person. Don't charge him or her anything. So I merely followed God's leading there. And for me, my success today is because of my faith. So for that's what I'm passing on to my kids. I don't really tell them that, someday you should be a businessman, you should take care of SEO Hacker, you should take over, blah blah blah. I don't tell them that. I never tell them those things. I just share with them God's word, and I ask them every day, did you read your Bible? Did you read your Bible? Did you pray today? And I also make sure that when we're in the dining table, before we have lunch or before we have dinner, that we pray. I lead the prayer, And I ask Leo to pray, and I ask Sage to pray. Sometimes three of us prays. A lot of times, actually, the three of us would pray one by one before we eat. Apple, of course, when she's there, she listens in. She also, it would be too long already, but sometimes she's the one leading the prayer instead of me. So we make sure that we pray with our kids, and our kids know how to pray also as young as they are. They're 5 and 7 years old. That for me is a picture of success. When I see my kids praying, when I see them talking about the Bible, knowing the stories, knowing the lessons, my gosh, like that for me is success. That for me is success. I hope that helps out, Chucks. I'm a man of faith. This is my real answer to you. I don't know if we share the same faith. I'm not sure, but if you don't, this is my real authentic answer to you. I hope that helps. From Nino, how does having a CSR impact your business or company? Okay, I cannot explain how many blessings SEO Hacker has been able to get. SEO Hacker has been so blessed because of the pro bonos or the sponsorships that we have given to other people. So you would be able to see that there are Christian professionals and also Christian bloggers that SEO Hacker has sponsored. They don't pay anything for their website, for their blog. They don't pay anything for their email marketing. Um, I don't charge them anything for it. The design of their website, everything, we take care of it. And that's because I believe in what they're doing, and I believe that we need more Christian professionals in the market, Christian business leaders in the market, Christian thought leaders in the market. That is what I really believe. So I sponsor them. That is my CSR. We don't have CSRs like yung mga donation drives or going to orphanages or maybe someday we'll be able to do that. But right now we're just doing what we can. We're doing what we can. And for me, that is extending the professionalism and excellence of Christians in the marketplace. Some people that I help and sponsor, you could see my name in the footer: Jason Law, Francis Kong, Marvin Germo, Randall Chongson, Pastor Dennis C. I've helped CCF Alabang with their website design before, but they decided to pursue with just a centralized website. Um, and yeah, Joy Tanshi Mendoza, I help her out with her website and her email marketing. So we have we have and help these people. No? So that's our CSR. I cannot begin to tell you how much blessings we have been able to get also in return from God. We didn't expect it, these blessings, of course, but it's blessings nonetheless from God, because if you do things for the Lord, He will pay you back in ways that you can never imagine, in ways that you can never count. So yeah, that's how it helped my business. I was advised that I shouldn't highlight our CSR, yet I also hear people saying I should highlight it. What's your stand on this? It depends on your faith, Nino. That's gonna be my answer. How big is your faith? It's like this. In the Bible, in the book of Malachi, it says there, give your tithes to God. Tithe, the word tithe literally means tenth, 1/10 of what you make, you give to God. Now, some people would say 1/10 gross, 1/10 net, 1/10 of my entire business earnings, 1/10 of what the business made talaga after taxes. It depends on your faith. Who can tell you what that tenth would be, right? So some people would give a tenth gross, some people would give a tenth net. It really depends on your faith. I can't really tell you what to do. I think this is one of those questions where it would depend on your faith. For you, if you believe that your right, there's a verse in the Bible where Jesus said, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing when you do acts of kindness or when you give. That is something I truly believe in. So I don't like lauding our CSR. In fact, this is the first time I've ever mentioned that our CSR is sponsoring these websites. I've never mentioned it before. I don't really publish it in our website. So it really depends on your faith and in your conviction. That's what I'd say. In starting a business venture before making an MVP, do you need to validate the idea of the venture first? I think the best way to validate it is via the MVP. There's no better way to really validate the idea other than that. So the MVP plus the fast feedback loop. If you guys are wondering what the heck I'm talking about, this is MVP is the minimum viable product, and it's found in the book The Lean Startup by Eric Rice, which is a fantastic book and a really good way to validate your startup if you have an idea that will make money or not. Read that book, Lean Startup by Eric Rice. So I truly believe 100% with the MVP model. I have a workshop uh, of the lean startup actually, but now it's a pandemic. Can't really do that. But I have proven how effective the MVP model is and how you should be able to do it. Now actually, it's super easy. Just send a survey form to some people, put in some images, maybe create a prototype website, and that's it. You can actually have an MVP with a fast feedback loop already. I see a lot of people having different opinions about this. I want to hear your perspective regarding the registration of business. When should be the right time to do it? For me, the right time to do it is if you're making money enough to pay for it. That's it. If you're not making money enough to pay for your business registration, then what are you going to be registering, right? You have to just register as a freelancer first, I guess. That's how you should do it. There are different laws that should support different levels of businesses. So when I was starting out, I was a freelancer. I didn't have any knowledge of business registration. And the only time that I registered SEO hacker is when Rockwell was asking me to present to them and to give them a contract already. And I had to be an SME. I had to be registered in DTI. I didn't know how to do it. So I finally just went to DTI. I myself went to DTI and I registered there, DTI Makati. And then I had to do the BIR and stuff. And I learned all of it. I learned all of it by myself because I did it by myself. And it costs money. It costs money. It costs time. I don't think it's smart for you to do it right away, especially if you're bootstrapping and you're going to go ahead and do that first because you're going to spend a lot of money, a lot of time doing that. You're going to wait for the government to give you whatever it is that you need, and the government can take a long time to give you what you need. It's just going to jeopardize your entire business, whatever you have going on. So for me, register it when your business is actually a business making money. That is the right time for you to register. Or if, like me, there is a client or potential client who does not deal with a freelancer, they only deal with a registered SME or a registered corporate entity. For SM, one of our clients, SM, we had to incorporate. That's it. They don't deal with small businesses. They don't deal with small to with sole proprietors. DTI, they don't deal with DTI registered companies. So I had to incorporate SEO hacker, and that took a while. That took a while. From LJ, how to be an effective team leader. Number one, have integrity. Be a one-man person. Who you are at work, who you are with other people, who you are with family, who you are when you have a show like Leadership Stack, be the same person. Don't be plastic. Don't be a two-faced guy. Don't be a two-faced girl. That's one of the best ways to be an effective team leader because when people trust you, then you can lead. If people don't trust you, then there's no way you can lead. So that's just one of the foundational traits. There's so many ways to be a team leader. I ask people in one of my webinars, what are the traits of a good leader? And they proceed to write so many answers: humility, integrity, initiative, um, honesty, generosity. There's so many words. It's countless numbers of words come up, and I write them on the glassboard. And all those words are difficult words to live by. You can't be all of that every day as a person. I mean, we're finite beings. But whenever you are not any one of those attributes, guess what? The people who are critical of you in your team will always have something to say. They will always have something to say. So, one of the things that you have to be careful with, because we're finite beings, we're going to have weaknesses. We can't be all of those words every day. One of the things that you must be smart about is who are the people who are close to you in your team, because you cannot have any one of them be critical about you. If they can't work with you, then make sure they're not part of your team. If they're critical about you, then make sure they're not part of your inner circle, because they're going to go ahead and slander and gossip about you. You should boot them out. So that is, as a leader, you're held to very high standard, a very high esteem. That's the thing. And there are those days that you're just not all you can be. There are going to be those days. You have to make sure that the people in your inner circle are people who support you, are people who are loyal to you, and are people who know you, who know that you're just having bad days. You're a human being too. I'm a human being too. We all just have our bad days. It's like that. I hope that helps. Can you tell us a difference? Where is it? I lost the question. Can you tell us the difference between a group and a team? Okay, a group and a team. A group of people are people who are bundled up, huddled together, and that's it. A team of people are people who are bundled up, but they're bundled up for a purpose. That's how I see it. That's the only difference. When you say this one's a team, they're working together for a purpose. When you say this one's a group, they're just huddled up together. So for me, that's the difference. I'm not sure if that makes sense for you guys. How do you know if you have a toxic team member? Easy. If that person has poison all over, it's not really difficult to see if you have a toxic team member. If that person is spewing poison, saying things that he or she shouldn't be saying, is disrespectful of his or her peers and leaders, that's a toxic team member. And what do you do with toxic team members? You have to purge them out. That's the only way, because the Bible says the heart is um, desperately sick. The heart is desperately sick. You can't fix it. Who can understand it? There's no one who can understand the heart of a person. So don't go try fixing a toxic team member. If you have one and you've identified that person to be a toxic team member, just make sure that you fire fast. That's the best way to do it. Fire fast, hire slow, fire fast. Jim Collins says that. One of the most brilliant minds in our planet. Hire slow, fire fast. So when you have a toxic team member, that's the time when you gotta fire fast. From Pam, how do you build connection with employees? Just like how you build connection with anyone else. Spend time with them, talk with them, get to know them. When's your birthday? What do you like doing? What do you do in your spare time? What are some of your hobbies? Oh, I like doing that too. I like this music as well. Why do you like this certain artist? Building connections with people is an art and a science. And I think that it doesn't matter if they're your employees or it's a person in the street. I don't think it matters. You just have to know how to build that connection. You just have to be able to talk with them, relate with them, show them that you're like them, because we are. We're all human beings. We all have the same frame of skeleton. We all have one spirit. How can I improve my relationship with team members? As I mentioned earlier, spend time with them. Spend time with them, talk with them, get to know them, be genuinely interested with them. Because people know when you're just talking for small talk, right? Be genuinely interested with your people. Ask them questions. Why do you like this? Why do you like doing that? Why is that your hobby? What's so fun in doing that? Can I try that as well? Can we do that together? Like, it's not hard to build relationships with people, not just team members, but with people in general. Just be genuinely interested with them or about them. And this principle is in the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's one of my favorite books. You should read that. What are the ways to improve team efficiency and productivity? Take out all the people who are not efficient and unproductive. When you hire for incompetence. You hire for competence. You hire for responsibility. You hire for initiative. You don't hire for the opposite. So why would you keep people who are inefficient and unproductive right? So take out all of the people who are such, and all the people who have initiative, who are competent, who have drive. They're gonna produce. Just get out of their way. There's a an image, story about donkeys and thoroughbred horses, stallions. And the image is, when donkeys are threatened, a group of donkeys or a team of donkeys, when they're threatened, what they do is they form a circle facing the threat. So they're facing outward, and with their hind legs, they kick each other to death. Because donkeys, they're not that smart. They're not that smart. They're noisy. They're, yeah, they're slow. When stallions or thoroughbreds are threatened, what they do is they form a circle and they face each other, and they kick the threat to death. They kick out outwardly. We need stallions in our team. And when you have donkeys in your team, stallions don't like it, because donkeys are noisy, they slow them down, and they're not that sharp, they're not that smart, they're not that competent. And donkeys, they don't like stallions in your team. They don't like thoroughbreds, because stallions make the donkeys look bad, because they have very good stamina, they go the long way, they challenge the status quo, they're hard workers, and they run fast. So if you have donkeys and stallions, one real good way to improve the efficiency and productivity in your team, get rid of the donkeys. Another way that I could think of is, make sure that you yourself are at the forefront, being efficient, being productive, doing the work. In our team, my tasks are in our public Slack channel. As CEO, my tasks are there. And on an average day, I finish 10 to 15 tasks. Sometimes I go 20, 28 tasks per day. And it's all public, so people in my team know what I'm doing as CEO. I'm accountable 100%. And people see how efficient I am with my work, how productive I am any given day. And, work day's done and I'm still doing this, right? So always be at the forefront, because that inspires people. The people who are also hardworking, your stallions, they're inspired by that. Your donkeys are not. They're insecure whenever you do that. So make sure you have stallions in your team, not donkeys. How to maintain the team's culture while working remotely? Very interesting question. That is something that I am very happy about with how we did it at SEO Hacker. So even before the pandemic hit and the lockdowns and the work from home hit SEO Hacker, and we decided March 16 to work from home, or to declare work from home already March 16 last year, and we've never been back to the office since. We actually make sure that we're all logged in Slack. We have our time tracker logged every day running for us. We have our Discord channel where we can just jump in a channel inside Discord and talk with people. We have our Zoom meetings as well. And we make sure we have weekly Zoom meetings for the town hall meetings and for the per team meetings. And that keeps the culture intact, because culture really is how we do things around here, dictated by the core values. And as SEO Hacker, we make sure to uphold our core values. We memorize them and we recite the core values every week. And we penalize by them, and we fire by them, and we hire by them, and we promote by them. And the core values has a lot to do with how we do things around here. And that is the culture process. We stick to the process of how we do things. We got a good culture going on for us. That's how we were able to do it. How do you support team members who achieve goals? We have what we call our clap session every town hall meeting, and we applaud people. We applaud people who do extraordinary things, who go the extra mile. We also have the patching ceremony, where pre-pandemic I have these military patches that I stick to the SEO Hacker jackets of people in our team. And that means a lot, because we only have the patches once a quarter as a ceremony. And when you get a patch, you get it for life. And I personally stick the patch on you, and it carries a perk with it. So that is how we show our appreciation and support for team members in SEO Hacker. It's sad because the last time that people get applauded, 60%, I think, no, more, I think 80% of people, the last time we got applauded on stage is actually in our graduation day in college. When I saw that statistic, I ventured to destroy it by making sure that we applaud people every week in SEO Hacker. So before, when we had our town hall meeting in the office, everyone's there. And you get applauded there live by people who are there. You get the applause of at least 50 people who know you and work with you. It's amazing. Now in Zoom, it's a lot less dramatic, but we still do it. We still carry it on. That is the best way we can do it today. Nino says, excited for the Saturday's webinar. Hope I won't encounter errors again. Yes, I hope so too. I'm gonna send the Zoom link straight to you, Nino. That's what I'm gonna be doing, so that you're gonna be there. You can't escape this time. Hey Mitch, yeah, of course I remember you. I hope you're gonna be part of the Saturday webinar as well. I think you're one of the people who were chosen in the you were drafted in the giveaway lottery. So you got drafted. You're joining us this Saturday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Hope you can be there. From Andre Reyes, hey Sean, I'm working with a startup. We have a software that solves pain points of FB Live sellers. First of all, hey Andre, really glad you're here. Really good to hear from you. Can you share the most effective way to launch SaaS with our target community? FB Live sellers. There's bound to be a Facebook group where most of the FB Live sellers are. I think that's the best way to launch your SaaS business. Yeah, just tell them the pain point of what you're solving. I'm not sure what it is, but for me, you have to focus on one or two pain points, and that's it. The biggest pain point. That's how you communicate your marketing message. For example, with SEO Hacker, I pioneered the elevator pitch of, when someone asks me, hey, Sean, what do you do? I tell them, I manipulate search results. I invented that phrase. And that's what I use for prospective clients, because immediately they get it. Immediately, people who ask me what I do get it. And it's so difficult to explain what SEO to people is, right? So when I tell them that, hey, I manipulate search results for a living, immediately they get it. There's the value prop there, and if they want me to manipulate search results for them, then we can talk shop. So you have to have something like that. But the downside is now a lot of my competitors also use the same phrase, which is fine because it is what it is, right? So if you have competitors, they're probably gonna catch wind of that and use it as well. But at least you got to use it for a lot of times already. You have to put it on your website, and that's really how you do marketing. From Andre, also, what is the best way to reach our customer and make them try our software? Make sure you communicate what your software does, the best thing that your software does for them. So some of the best things that I have seen is, if you're selling CCTV cameras, for example, don't put in your website, or don't tell them, I'm selling the cheapest, most intelligent CCTV camera there is in the market. That's the wrong way to advertise and market your product. If you can tell people that I am selling the most intuitive real-time security that you can check on your phone, and it will secure your house 100%, that is the better way to market your CCTV camera product, right? So it is all about the copy, the positioning, and how you market yourself to your prospect clients. And if you need help with that, just hit me up on Discord, chat me, and I'll help you work it out. No worries. What are the effective marketing strategies for a real estate business during the pandemic? Listing. I mean, internet. That's the best way. Because like I know people are searching right now on the internet. Not a lot of people go around the neighborhood tripping and looking for real estate properties today. I don't think that's happening as much as it was happening before. So make sure your real estate property, I mean, if you're renting out a certain condo unit, townhouse, house, or if you're selling a house and lot, or a blank lot, make sure it's listed in all of the possible listings you can put them in, like Carousel, Facebook Marketplace, the Moody, all of these online websites that you could list your property in. I think that's the best way to do it. Not a lot of people would go out tripping right now, especially it's ECQ. How can you tell whether a Facebook ad is an effective ad? When a lot of people resonate with it. One of the ways to launch an effective Facebook ad is ask people, "Would you click this ad?" If you design your own ad and you write the copy of the ad, upload it on Facebook. Don't pay for it yet. Take a screenshot and ask a lot of people in your network, "Will you click on this ad? Do you understand what it says? Is it something that speaks to you? Will you want to buy whatever is being sold here? Will you at least be interested in what's being sold here?" If you get yes answers, then you're going to have an effective Facebook ad. But if your answers would be no, or I'm not sure, or somewhat, yeah, somewhat, I'm not sure, then you don't have something there and you have to change the copy, you have to change the design. As an entrepreneur, we have a lot of questions tonight. Wow, by the way, we have a lot of questions tonight. Before I read this question, we have from Yan. Hey Yan, howdy. Thanks for being here again. Very nice to hear the word Christian businessman almost as in the West. Yeah. I hope it's not a sin in the West to be a Christian businessman. That's going to be a very sad thing. Very refreshing saying Merry Christmas here because it's becoming very political. Yeah, I know. I've heard. Might be the time to assume that we are in Jesus' team that like the most successful group is doing with his faith. Yeah. Yeah, definitely nothing wrong. Relative truth is something that is being preached except when you're Christian. So yeah, that's there's something definitely wrong with our world today. I hear you, brother, and I am with you there. We have a question from Vanessa. I'll come back to that, which says thank you, thanks as well for joining the giveaway, and congratulations. All right, as an entrepreneur, when getting an agency to work on your social media marketing, what are your expectations from them? Well, it depends. It depends on what I agreed upon with them. If I said there's two kinds of ads for me. One is lead generating or sales generating. The other kind is brand awareness and reach. So there's just two general kinds of ads that I'm focused on, and if it's brand awareness and reach, then I'm gonna want to have maximum eyeballs, maximum impressions. If it's leads and sales, then I'm gonna track my bottom line, and the attribution has to be correct. From the moment they see the ad, they click on it, to my website, to the checkout, there has to be the conversion analytics attribution set right. So my expectations would be they hit the KPI. So if I said I want X eyeballs for X amount of money, it has to hit the KPI. If I say I want X amount of sales or leads for X amount of money, then they have to deliver. Otherwise, it's going to be a one off deal and that's it. If they want the recurring business, they have to keep on hitting the KPI. How do you approach clients by telling them that the cause of delay is from their end? Diplomatically. That's the answer. Be diplomatic about it. You can't go ahead and um, kick the door, put your guns out, and say, "Hey, it's your fault." So you have to be diplomatic about it by saying, "We understand that we both don't want the delays. Both of us do not desire any delays because if there's delays on our end also, or in the project in general, it also costs us manpower. That is unnecessary because we could have finished this as fast as possible. And I'm sure you also don't want delays because, hey, You want to launch this as fast as possible so that you can finally see the results or you can finally get your ROI. So, what is the best way for us to deliver this by X day and time? For us, these are the things that we need by this time already. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, so that's how I would approach it. You could approach it in some other way. It doesn't have to be my style. You can have your own style, but I would always tell my people in the team, if you're going to approach something that might cause conflict, approach it in a diplomatic way. As a business owner, how do you handle clients that seek your professional advice but they have a different direction far from your suggestions? How do you professionally respond to them? Well, if they're your clients and they're paying you and they seek your advice, I would just give it, even if they have a different direction far from my suggestions. Because they're paying client. They deserve my opinion. They're paying for it. If they don't use it, that's fine. That's their decision. They're still paying me for it. But if they listen, great. And usually I find clients would listen to you if you have the creds to back it up, if you have data to back it up. How do you professionally respond to them? Well, if you're asking me how you can turn them down, even if they're paying you, that's gonna be tough. Because if you tell them, you're not gonna listen anyway, so I'm not gonna give you my advice, it's a little disrespectful. So if it was me, I'd just give the advice. If they're paying me anyway, they're my client. Otherwise, I could tell them that is it I would say, is it ridiculous for me to know or to under is it ridiculous for me to ask from you if you're actually gonna if you're actually going to value or weigh my advice and opinion against all the other advices that you have? And if they say no, it's not ridiculous at all, that's why we're asking you for your opinion, then maybe you've won them over. But otherwise, I would still give it. I'd still give it if they're a paying client. From Cesar, effective ba talaga ang boost post sa Facebook? Is there a better way to harvest potential clients through FB? Boost post. I'm streaming in FB, by the way, right now, so it's hard for me to say anything about Facebook. But yeah, there it depends. It depends on your target market, on the demographics. One way to really know if the post you're boosting will make it far is before you boost it, ask friends and family and your target demographics. Maybe you have some people in your friends and family network who are your part of your target demographics. Ask them, hey, would this post interest you? Is this a post that you will click? Papansinin mo ba to? Is this a post that you're actually gonna spend a little time on, wondering about 2 seconds or 3 seconds? Is it gonna get a 3 second attention from you? If the answer is yes, then maybe that's gonna fly when you boost it. But if the answer is no, I wouldn't notice it, even if it was straight in my face, or even if it's the only thing in my little mobile screen, then you don't have anything there, and you might want to change that post up before you boost that. That's how I would personally do it. From Vanessa, how do you unite your team given you have differing views about vaccination? How could this affect the future workplace? All right, so this is a very sensitive topic, difficult for me to answer. In SEO Hacker, we didn't force people to uh, take a shot, take their own shots. I personally got the first dose of Pfizer already, and I'm waiting for the second dose. But I would never force people in my that's because we're all working from home, right? If we're working from the office, it's probably gonna be a different story. But because SEO Hacker, we're all working from home, then I didn't ask them to take the shot. But if your people are working in the office, you could actually make it a regulation with your HR team, make it a memo that people who want to come into the office have to be vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, then you're going to be working from home, or you're going to be working from a part of the office that might be a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know. Maybe you have a spare area in your office that's not prepared 100% for people to have a comfortable working time in. and that's where all the unvaccinated people are going to be, and that's also going to be a risk for them, so it's a matter of communicating the benefits of being vaccinated to everyone. And also, if you want them to get vaccinated, make sure that make sure you're leading from the front, not just barking orders from behind. So that's my take about it. Hope that helped. Vanessa from Vano, how do you unite your team? All right, so yeah, same question. um Pro and anti, I don't even know why people would be pro or why people would be anti. It's just a matter of, are you considering other people around you if they're gonna catch the virus because of you? If you are, then get vaccinated. If you aren't, then just stay at home if you don't want to get vaccinated, because you might catch wind of the virus and it's gonna be life threatening for you. The reason why I had um, my vaccine shot, is because I'm running a business with 50 people. If anything bad happens to me, it's gonna hamper our growth and progress, and 50 people's livelihoods would be at stake. And I wouldn't want that just because I didn't take the vaccine shot. So I hope that helps. Again, yeah, I think that's all the questions we have tonight. It's a lot of questions. I hope you learned something new there. We're going to have the webinar, the second run. It's a rerun of the um, Grow and Balance Your Life webinar. If you haven't been able to check it out, head over to leadme.ph/grow balance. The link is right there. And that webinar is about growing and balancing your life, especially in this time when we are all just trying to get a grip. We're all just trying to get a grip. It's 7 to 9 p.m. this Saturday. I'll be there. I'll be in the Q&A, and I will be in the breakout session as well. It's 2 hours. We had a lot of fun last Saturday. I had a lot of fun last Saturday. So the rate is 950, and there is yeah, there's still slots. You can still join if you want to learn about intentional growth, personal growth. This is something that I'd want you to take on, and I'd be happy to see you in there. We also have the leadme.ph/youtube, and that's our YouTube channel. So if you're not on Spotify, if you're not an auditory kind of learner, you're more visual, we have the YouTube channel. There's 906 subscribers, guys. Road to 1,000. Malapit na. And we have over 200 videos already here. Please do help us out by getting it to 1,000 subscribers. Friends and family, share it in your network, share it on Facebook, anywhere. That's going to be a huge help. So, the Leadership Stack team thanks you for being here. We've This is a work of love and passion. We're not making any money out of this. I hope you appreciate the things that you learn, and we appreciate you likewise being here, asking your questions, wanting to learn. Kenneth says, going to ask next time. Definitely, hey, just ask anytime. I'm on Discord. I check the messages there. I check the DMs there. People DM me all the time, asking me questions. I do respond in chat, but of course, it'd be great if you ask it in the AMA, right? So other people could tune in and learn from you as well. And yeah, Nino, you're on Saturday. I think you're. Yeah, I'm gonna send you the link. No problem. You're gonna get it. No worries. No worries, dude. You're gonna get the Zoom link. You're gonna be able to join this Saturday. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. I'm gonna have dinner now. Haven't had it yet, and I really enjoyed this episode. Good questions, and I'll see you next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Take care, and God bless.